Hey, good morning, up and at 'em. Yes, it is. It is Monday, February 10th. So, what are we talking about today? I'm talking about how to customer loyalty, you know, and some of the brands that have done that over the years and how they done that, and how even some of the implementing some of the simplest things into your business could also get your customers to come back because retention is big, right? That's the cheapest thing in your business if you're doing it correctly. So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back. Yes, my name is Eric, if you didn't already know it, and this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday, February 12th, 2025. So, what am I talking about when I say brand loyalty and customer retention? It's, I'm going to kind of deep dive into just two of the outdoor power equipment giants that had it figured out to a certain extent. I don't think so much today they have it figured out, but I think back in the day they had it figured out. And the first one is Stihl. Why do I say Stihl? Well, Stihl had it well thought out. They had territories and they protected their dealers, all right? And they expected from each dealership, you know, that you were going to make sure the customer was well aware how to use it safely, how to file a chain. The local steel dealership in our area did all that and more. But I can remember my first steel chainsaw, and that was the Farm Boss. And I didn't buy it new. I had bought it off some yin yang that I saw in a local, what they call the penny saver. A guy wanted to sell a late model steel chainsaw because it was a piece of crap. So I talked my grandfather I called the guy on the phone, and he said, yeah, he still had it. And I said, can I come take a look at it right now? Because I had cash burning a hole in my pocket, which really I didn't because I was pretty frugal during those days. Because I was well beyond my years of knowing what I wanted and knowing that I had to work and save my money to get what I wanted, right? But up until that point, my grandfather had a Homely XL, and just visualize a 6'4" man with a Homely XL, and he had it in one hand, and he would cut firewood with one hand because his mitts were too big for the saw. But he loved that saw, and that's what we cut our teeth on. Got trained on how to use it safely. So I grabbed my money, and took me over because I was 15, I think, at the time. And I wanted my own chainsaw. And the guy bought it brand new. And after sitting there talking with him, said that he wanted to cut an opening to put a window in his barn out back, which was an oversized shed. And it cut so far, and then all it would do was just sit there and smoke. Thinking, it dawned on me, he hit a nail. How crazy is that? Now, I had at that point in time two choices. One, I could tell the guy that he hit a nail and just simply a dull chain and show him how to sharpen it. But the other was, if you don't know how to use it and you don't recognize that you dulled the chain, you probably shouldn't have a chainsaw in your hand. So I ended up buying that for pennies on the dollar. And I had that, to be honest with you. I just sold it here at an auction 6-7 years ago because it wasn't getting used as much. But I still had it from back when I was 15. That was the other thing with Stihl, is they had quality products. They were coming in from, I believe, Germany. But it would hold up to the test of time. I mean, you can't fault the chain for hitting a nail or hitting any metal and then wondering why it won't cut. That's common sense if you are in the saw industry, aka cutting firewood, or trimming trees around people's properties, which I did. If I did everything from mowing the yards to raking the leaves to trimming up wherever I thought I could make a dollar. It didn't take long for the price of the saw to pay it off. But they had a dealer loyalty program that they took care of their dealers, kept them well educated, and they built a brand where customers like me, if I were to go buy another brand new saw, I would buy a Stihl. And at one point in time, I think I had 9 Stihls out here. Like, anybody's going to use 9 Stihls. But my old ones didn't wear out, and I would update my saws. And like I had a pair of MS 170s, 180s, 210s, right up through. And at that same auction, I ended up getting rid of a lot of them that I no longer use. I even had a John Charette in there for some reason. In my garage, you wouldn't know I got rid of a bunch of them because now I got a bunch of them back. I think I've got 9 saws right now. But they had a customer loyalty also that followed them because they had a good quality product, and their dealer knew exactly what they were talking about. I'm not saying that you didn't go to a bad dealership and get, a sour taste in your mouth. But for the most part, they had high expectations of their dealers. And if you were caught selling product into somebody else's territory, you could lose the dealership. I kind of lost my way with them when they teamed up with John Deere. And it wasn't that the saws were being made any cheaper, which I think they were. They had already started to cheapen them. But the mere fact that they just shit on their dealers that were still, that was the main brand that they carried, right? And our local Stihl dealer for years, that's what he carried. His whole business was Stihl. He expanded and brought in Husqvarna, and that's the second one I want to talk about. Is Husqvarna built a solid brand, and how'd they do that? They listened to their customers. They wanted input from their people that were using it. And they honestly were making changes based on the customer's experience of how well, the ease of use, what was the issues. And they made it very clear that everything that was brought to them, they were working on a fix, a workaround. So up here, Stihl and Husqvarna did well. And then when Tractor Supply came into the area, they were carrying the Husqvarna. Because one thing I'll say with Husqvarna, it didn't care who wanted to carry their line. They knock yourself out. And then when you started having brands like Lowe's, Home Depot, and all them carrying the Husqvarnas, it kind of put the little dealers out, right? Except for the older crowd that still wanted that one-on-one dealer experience. That they've known the dealer for years, and they were going back more so because of the owner and the staff than they were going back on the brand, if that makes any sense. So how can we as small businesses take those two brands and try to figure out, well, how do we get customer retention? Because customer retention is probably the cheapest expense you will have when it comes to trying to either expand growth. And why do I say it's the cheapest? It's a given. You're a given. If you're doing good quality work for a fair price and you're treating that customer the way they should be treated, they will come back. And they will pay you for work done. Everybody else, you're trying to get them to come to the door to get at least try the experience of what you're offering, to see how well you guys do, and how well you treat customers. But where do you find new customers, and how do you get them to come through the door? Well, in some cases, you have to spend quite a bit of money per customer to build your customer base. It depends on how much time you have. I mean, you can do it slow rolling, and that is word of mouth and hoping for the best. We've talked about umpteen different things that you can do that cost money. TV, radio, print, running Google ads, Facebook ads, all which, if I guess done right, will do okay, but I never had any look at that. So I've always made sure to take care of the customers that I have while building more customers on. Are you going to lose some customers? Yes, some customers are not brand loyal, are not repair shop loyal. It's wherever they can get it the cheapest. And if Joe Schmo started one up in his garage for nights and weekends, which a lot of you guys do, and my customer can get it cheaper and still have the same quality when it comes to fixing the unit, can you blame them? And this is nowhere a slight on you guys that are doing nights and weekends, because I think we need that. We've had that for years and years and years, and if I'm doing something right and doing it well, I don't need to worry, because my customers will come back. If they're just basing it on cost, I can afford to lose a few of those, if that makes sense. To you guys that have been in business longer, you will say, yeah, makes perfect sense. Because a lot of times, if it's cost only, they're a pain in the ass. And you guys that are working nights and weekends have got more time to devote of coddling these people. And we've had, and friends of mine do the nights and weekends. I kept chewing one of my friends' asses out that was doing it nights and weekends, because the minute he touched somebody's mower or sell them a mower that he had bought and fixed, it was like supposedly the customers felt that it was a lifetime guarantee of keeping it running. Well, then that's on you for not saying otherwise. And are you still fixing it? The ones you sold years ago? Well, yeah. Stop. They're just taking advantage of you because they're getting it cheaper. Where do I sign up with my own lawnmower that anything you touch is guaranteed to be fixed the rest of its life? But I think this day and age, I'm not seeing so much of like Stihl still taking care of their brand now that they've branched out and let John Deere jump in with them. Or I'm not sure how that goes. John Deere bought them out, or John Deere has so many locations, because John Deere is another one that's brand loyalty and dealer. They cover their dealers for certain territories. So I mean, it was a win-win for Stihl to get put in, because all farmers, and especially this day and age, you have so many what I call weekend warriors that will go out and buy themselves a compact tractor with a back blade or a front end loader with a backhoe on it, and they got projects. And most of them are semi-retired, so they'll own a chainsaw to do living in the yard, keep them preoccupied. So it was a good marriage to have Stihl brand sitting there in front of the John Deere folks. Because John Deere is a 50-50 split. John Deere covers the ag side and also covers the residential side. But they also cover the business side. They have equipment for business. But that kind of brings us back to us, What are we selling? Are we selling a brand? Are we selling quality work? Because, Northern New York Parts is a brand. And when it came to small engine parts, it was a brand that you could come to for OEM or aftermarket. We covered them all. And we stood behind the products when the brands wouldn't even stand behind their own products. We stood behind them. If we had a Parker wheel motor fail with one of our landscapers, we would replace it for free. Other words, we would eat it, the cost of a new Parker. But by doing so, I wanted brand loyalty of if that landscaper had another need for parts, they would come to us first because we took care of them. And we were well versed on if you had a Parker motor wheel fail, that you needed to drain all the... We would go into the specifics with the landscaper of how to fix and replace. That you just don't throw it on there because you have metal shavings throughout that system that's contaminated. Of how you need to run all the oil out and then run a couple 5-gallon jugs of diesel through it to get all the filings out before you attach that new Parker. Because you're going to take that and the other one out too, if you haven't already taken the other one out. And that was the other thing, trying to get our customers to understand that if one went, good chances are that the other one's right there behind it. So you're farther ahead to drain it, flush it, replace both Parkers, and even consider replacing the hydrostatic pump. But that's how we retained customers and built our brand, was even products that didn't have a warranty on it, we were warrantying them. And we're being told by our suppliers, you're nuts. All right. how does this relate to a smaller shop? A smaller shop is, how do you retain and get people through the door? And no matter how small you are, you still are technically a brand. You know, Bill's Lawn and Garden, Bill's Lawnmower Repair, you know, whatever the name of the business is the brand that you're trying to get out and across to people. That A, we do quality work. B, we treat our customers well. C, come try us out. D, we stand behind everything we do. And by doing those four things, what are you doing? You're building a brand following of customers that know that Bill's Small Engine Repair stands behind the work, does quality work for a fair price, and treats us customers very well. That's how you retain customers. Most of you are already doing that. And the ones that aren't really should be looking at retaining those customers that you're getting through the door, and then trying to add more instead of bleeding your old customers. And I'm not talking to customer that's cost only, because those are big headaches. The ones that are just, what does it cost? And they window shop until they find the cheapest location. That's why you hear a lot of you guys chiming in to these other guys that are starting businesses. Don't ever compete on price, because you'll get into this where you're not even making any money at it. And trying to deal with customers that are only there because you are cheaper makes your job that much harder. Compete on quality work and how you treat your customers, never on price. Are we cheaper than the other two shops in our area? Yes, but it's not because I'm trying to undercut them. I'm not. It's just I don't have as many mouths to feed as they do. I'm not floor planning. I'm not doing all that stuff. So I don't need the bigger dollars per hour to maintain my customer base. But I'm not cheap either. You know, $55 an hour, that's pretty good. But I have shop overhead. I have heat. I have electricity. I have payroll. You know, the list goes on as a shop owner. But what are your ideas on this? You know, when it comes to, let's say, Stihl and Husqvarna and what they were doing. How does that relate to what we're doing? You know, maybe some of you guys are Stihl dealers or Husqvarna dealers. If you're Stihl dealers and you're not a John Deere dealer as well, how did you feel when they did that? I know I lost a lot of faith in John Deere for doing that to their dealers. You know, the old adage that I used to say is, you don't shit where you eat. And those smaller dealers that were all over the country were making Stihl good money. In all those years of building that customer brand loyalty, and these small shops did their part, and then you step over them to hook up with a big outfit like John Deere. I mean, you're free to do what you want, but I lost a lot of faith in them for doing that to their dealers. And I also stopped being brand specific. I didn't need to have a Stihl. I started running Husqvarnas, John Surratt's, because they all cheapen their stuff to keep up with the Joneses. And that was the other outdoor power equipment companies out there that were doing the same thing to their saws. They were cheapening them, trying to compete with the same clones nowadays that are coming from overseas, that even the parts of clones will interchange with anything on a Stihl chainsaw. Tell me what's coming out the front door and what's going out the back door. Are Stihls still being produced in Germany? Or are they being made in China and assembled in Germany? So in the comments, because I'm going to start wrapping this up, what's your take on it? What do you do to retain customers? What do you do to try to get more customers in the door? Do you treat your regular customers differently than you do a new customer that walks through the door? We don't. We try to give everybody a good, well-rounded experience when dealing with us and make them friends. So on that note, you guys have a great Monday, and we'll catch you here bright early tomorrow morning.